Hello, this is Richard C. Wilson at the Family Office Club, and today we're doing an investor mandate interview with Noble. Welcome, Noble.
Hey, how's it going, Richard? Good to see you.
Great, yeah. And what type of an investor are you?
Well, I started off originally as kind of a private or individual investor as an angel, and so we'd invest in different projects. And in the last probably year and a half, we've teamed up with an accelerator here in downtown LA, and we've set up an accelerator fund. And before this whole COVID-19 thing started, our whole focus was to work with a lot more startups and a few key verticals.
Okay, great. And in terms of geography, scopes of the types of startups, industries, pre-seed versus after someone has revenue, what's kind of the more defined scope of what you like to spend your time on investment-wise?
Yeah. So our whole thesis has really started to center around a couple of core verticals: pre-seed, seed, some Series A, with the idea that we would be kind of co-sponsoring with others or bringing other family offices or groups with us into that space. And the target was along a few verticals. Number one was cannabis. Number two was entertainment. And then number three, our whole focus was in recyclables or green, taking old tires or taking advantage of any of the, as people probably know, China's not taking any more of our old recyclables. And so there's an opportunity there to just really tap into the gold carburetors, finding cadmium and rhodium and all that stuff in those. And so one of the cool things is, because we had already started down the path, and it was really, when we started focusing on cannabis, it was more of the fixed and axis. So we didn't really want to be in the a farmer, but the ancillary services. One of those services was testing and genetic testing of individuals to find out if CBD or THC actually worked in their bodies properly. And now we're kind of evolved into the laboratory business. Originally we were focus on the labs to do that specifically. But now we're looking at purchasing that does COVID-19 or corona testing. So it's kind of, it's one of those things you find yourself pivoting in the middle of the situation that you didn't expect before. But it was good that we already had added that vertical, the whole testing to people.
Yeah, that's cool. There's, I think everyone's trying to figure out how to adjust their portfolio or where they double down right now. I know we'd invested in a all natural bath salt company on Amazon called Better Bath, Better Body. And we have found that they're up 25, 30%. And so we're reaching out back to a couple kind of busted deals that we had looked at before that are related to that, where maybe they've gone dormant and they're about to close their doors and they could be kind of acquired into that business perhaps. And everyone I talk to is trying to do something similar, like you just said, repurpose an asset or what's doing well and just make sure that's fully supported and, getting whatever progress they can. So appreciate you bringing that up.
It literally was surprising. I just to get, even before yesterday, the call came in. That's why just kind of top of mind, the call came in for us to acquire a lab that's in the middle of certification for COVID-19. And literally, we're looking at this lab just to do this genetic testing. It's a particular test for the CBD channel. And lo and behold, they have the machine that was doing coronavirus. And then they're getting certified for the array for COVID-19. We're like, okay, great pivot. We didn't, it was one of those things you didn't feel like you missed a beat.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And in terms of everything that you just mentioned, what is in 2020 the most exciting type of deal that you want to source out of everything else?
What's interesting is that like I said, entertainment is on the vertical. And so we've been constantly focusing on acquiring royalties, particularly music royalties. And recently we got an opportunity to buy a 10% stake in Quentin Tarantino's debut film, Reservoir Dogs. And we're really looking at entertainment along the spectrum between extended reality, virtual reality, but more importantly, all these films that are being streamed to go out and do just an aggressive acquisition and just collecting royalty rights. And it's one of those situations where I'm a member of ASCAP and BMI. I've been acquiring music royalties for 2 decades now. And ASCAP sent out a letter stating that they expect the royalties to change a bit because of what's happened with COVID-19 and how they're going to manage it. But
Yeah.
the reality is streaming is bigger than ever. So you have all these artists who are kind of stuck in how they're getting paid and how they're getting funds. And so we're really stepping into that space to aggressively help them get money in their pockets to kind of be in this space and survive through it. But at the same time, building up our portfolio. So we're really pushing more and more towards royalty licensing and owning it.
Yeah, no, that's great. We did an interview with someone on the podcast, a family office podcast recently, on oil and gas royalties, which is a different thing. When I did an investment structures webinar last week, we talked about royalties for investing into operating companies, which is different than music royalties. But we have had one family office speak on stage at our events about music royalties before. And most people don't know anything about that niche. So I appreciate you, bringing that up. If it's something already producing a royalty and you're just investing in access to that stream, it's less risky than when you say, oh, we do entertainment investing and, this up and coming guy who got a couple awards at some festival wants us to back his new film that Brad Pitt promises he'll be part of. I mean, you hear of those kind of daisy chain deals that you don't take very seriously for more than 1 second. And Disney announced they hit 50 million subscribers in 4 months yesterday, I saw. Which is all, really impressive, big news related to that. So appreciate you bringing that up. What, based on everything you've learned last, decade or 2 decades of investing, what's the number one piece of advice you could share with investors listening that would save them $100,000 in wasted time or fees to service providers or just busted deals that you wish you would have known, when you got started?
You know what, man, you got a flood of thoughts when you brought that up. Sure. But the one that really kind of sticks with me is this too will pass. I believe that oftentimes, you know my career. I've had a brokerage firm, hedge fund, I've traded day in and day out, and what I've learned over the years is just simply that you're never going to be right. Either you're not going to have enough positions when you're successful, or you're going to be in the wrong position. And so the reality is we don't really swing for home runs every time. It's 100% this too will pass, and to just stay the course and stay steady and stay focused and remember your end objective, regardless of the tactics. The tactics can change along the way, but if your end objectives are key, then this too will pass. I mean, come on, Richard, you and I've lived through mortgage-backed failures. We've lived through the dot-com bubble one burst. We've lived through, and at the end of the day, you're looking at all this and you're like, well, I'm still standing. So this too will pass. Kind of step into the verticals that make sense, and just be, and I guess be open to not being too fixated and doing things the way you used to do them. As long as you're able to be nimble and being willing to pivot to see where the new opportunities are without demanding that it has to be a success immediately, you'll start finding the silver lining. Like, come on, bath salts, who knew? And now you're doing a big pivot, and it's a smart pivot. It's not like more people are going to be home, and so anything in that vertical makes sense now for people with home goods and home comfort. I think we had this real quick. We had this whole food craze where everything is healthy and you got to buy Whole Foods and everything. Well, a report came out this morning. Frito-Lay, Doritos, chips, all the major comfort foods are now going skyrocket because no one really cares about low fat and whether it's green. And it's
like
not
stress eating, right?
But the thing is, those are verticals that, up until, if you had said 6 months ago, these are going to be, 55% increases, I would have laughed at you. And so that's really the reality, is that this too will pass. And as long as you're really staying present in the moment, understanding what's happening right now, not what you think should happen, like traders, then you're going to be okay.
My friend Joe Polish, runs a group called Genius Networks, and he says that drug addiction or any type of addiction is just self-soothing. And so if you have to self-soothe with some potato chips, it could be worse, right? I mean, there could be worse addictions on planet Earth. So I hope most of America is only self-soothing with potato chips, because I know it's a rough time for a lot of people out there.
It is. It's a unique time. I tell my kids, I've got 5 kids, so I tell them all the time. So we're living history right now. There will be tons and volumes of history books written about this particular period and moment. And so the beauty of that is that there will be another moment that'll be better than what it is right now.
Right. Yeah, that's almost certain. Yeah, for sure. So what's the best way to get in touch with you, Noble, and reach out to you? And is it LinkedIn, email, phone? What do you
I would say LinkedIn is always, I've got like 17 or 18,000 direct connections on LinkedIn.
Cool.
I've been on there for a long time. And I always just say, reach out to me on LinkedIn. And
Okay.
Now more than ever, we're monitoring and we're doing stuff on LinkedIn. So yeah, just
Okay.
LinkedIn, it's easiest.
Great. And you don't have a last name that 10 million other people have in America alone. So I'll just spell it for people here that are listening on audio. It's just Noble. If you're going to look them up on LinkedIn, just so help people find you there. But appreciate you doing the interview here today and being part of the Investor Club community, and happy to keep you in touch. Maybe have you on a virtual discussion panel that we do with some of our investors sometime coming up over the next couple months.
Hey, I'd love to do it. And it's always good to see you.
Great. Thanks. Take care, Noble.
Bye now.